right, I'm coming at you today, guys, in my kitchen because I really wanted to talk to today's guest, Todd Smith. And when I asked him what, title or anything he wanted to go by, he's like, I actually don't. He's like, I go by Todd. And I absolutely love that. I don't like sometimes putting myself in a certain box, or other people putting me into a certain box too. And I think we're going to dive into all things highly sensitive people today, which I'm super excited about. So welcome. I've, definitely thought over the years that sensitivity, or I've kind of shifted my belief around it as far as like sensitivity is my superpower. Although there have definitely been moments in my life where it's felt challenging or overwhelming. How did you first discover that you were a highly sensitive person, or like what that is, or or how would you even describe what a highly sensitive person is? Any of those directions.
Yeah, great questions. And it's great to be here. So thank you, Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I only discovered it a few years ago that I was a highly sensitive person. I mean, I've obviously been this way my whole life, but a friend of mine said, you might be highly sensitive and you might check. There's a test you can take. So I was like, okay, take it. I took it. And oh, yes, that's definitely who I am. So, what is a highly sensitive person? It's a particular trait that is, you actually find it in over 100 different species. About 15 to 20% of a given population has this trait. And it's defined by four main characteristics. The lady who did the research, she says it's DOES, does, like if you're going to use a word to make it easy. The D stands for depth of processing. So that's the first characteristic you'll notice is you process things more deeply. You take more time to process things. I've been accused of being slow, but I'm not stupid also. We get to the bottom of things, but we take our time. And we also take all the different things that come into our mind and we sit with them and look at the connections and try to work it out. And we spend time in that kind of processing. The next one, the D, O. O is for overwhelm. Because of the depth of processing, because of the amount of stuff that we're dealing with and taking care of internally, we can get overwhelmed more quickly. And so our window of being like balanced is much smaller than other people's. And so people often accuse us of being too sensitive because we end up reaching our max point earlier than other people. It's like running a bigger program on your computer. It's going to max out your computer quicker.
That
We
sounds
run,
getting
yeah.
on.
So we run a big program, and it's a good thing, has its major advantages, but that's one of the disadvantages. The DOE, E stands for emotional or empathetic, and this is also a big part of this trait. We are very aware of the emotions and feelings of other people. We pick up on subtle changes in tone of voice and facial expressions and body language and just what it means when somebody does this, or that. And we pay attention and we care about that stuff. So we're really good at being there for people and being just a support for people. We're great listeners. Any of the caring professions are naturally a fit for this type of person. But we can cross over and get into other people's business also, where we can end up kind of, not respecting the boundaries a little bit, or just like getting overwhelmed by too much attention on others. So, our challenge is to come back to ourselves.
I
So
call
the
that
last one,
curiosity.
D-O, say
No,
that again. What was
I
it?
said I call that curiosity.
Curiosity, yeah.
No.
And the difference is like there's nothing wrong with curiosity, and we can't turn it off. Like we see what's going on around us. The difference is like there it's like noticing where people do have boundaries, or noticing what's their responsibility and what's my responsibility. And
Mm-hmm.
as long as you keep that sorted, then this is an amazing gift to all around, and it's wonderful. But if we don't keep that sorted, then we start taking on someone else's responsibility. Then, of course, it becomes stressful.
Hmm.
So the last piece of it is the S in DOES is sensitivity, sensory sensitivity. And that means we are affected by bright lights, loud noises, any kinds of smells, things like that. We just take in a lot more data, which also contributes to overwhelm. And it's so, yeah, this is, I like to say, if you ask someone who's not highly sensitive to count to 1 to 10, they'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But if you ask someone who's highly sensitive, it'll be like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. There's a lot of details that we pick up on.
Yeah, no, I kind of got a little teary-eyed because a lot of this is like, I feel so seen.
You're not
And
alone.
it tracks. I'm like, that's why I didn't want to go to ACL this weekend.
Yes.
So
Yes.
to, sensory overload or shared experience on overwhelm or being, like to going in. I'm curious, do you know if like this is something like formed in the womb? Is it like as we're developing as a kiddo? Like, is it our neuro, typical or non-typical, or like what is that kind of? I'm wondering if there's a correlation there, or if you can shed some light on that.
Yeah, I'm not super expert in that, but my understanding is that we're born with it.
Mm,
Like it's an evolutionary trait that is, I would assume, is like based in our DNA or something like that. But like when I look back to when I was young, I was this way back then, and nothing's changed. It's just now I have a name for it or I understand it a little better. But I think it's just the way we're wired, really. One of the ways to talk about it is we're wired for depth, not so much for speed.
mm, I definitely value depth for sure. Um, and sometimes, yeah, I don't really like conversations about the weather or like that sort of thing. Yeah, it's just really interesting. So, when did you discover, or like, or was it like a coming home sense, I guess? Like once you discovered this like term or group of people or community or like just way, it's like, oh, like, shoot, I can move a little easier in the world, or maybe if I'm given these certain tools, I can.
Yeah, it's very affirming just to see like you said, feeling seen. Like, oh my gosh, there's nothing wrong with me because we're a kind of an unseen minority, like an invisible minority, you could say, it's very easy to internalize the judgments of everybody. Like, oh, you're too sensitive. You need to toughen up. You're just you're overthinking this. Well, overthinking, what other people will call overthinking, is normal for us. Like this is just the way we think. So like it's very easy to start judging yourself, and we all internalize that. So finding that it's it does feel like coming home, and it's something that can be really nice to just experience. I say there's three pillars of stress for stress management with highly sensitive people, and one of those pillars is just understanding the trait, because then it becomes normal for you. Then it becomes, you have compassion for yourself and you stop judging yourself as much.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely want to dive more into those pillars or like just stress management. Because a girlfriend of mine was just staying the night just a couple of days ago, and she was saying, I can go to sleep usually easily unless I overthink or something. I'm like, yeah. So she's like, or if I don't start doing that, it's like, yeah, same. Sometimes I find myself taking a Benadryl so that I'll get a little more drowsy. Um, because I'm like, okay, just thinking about things or connecting the dots. So I'd love to expand on your pillars. You mentioned the first one, just understanding like the term. Let's go, let's peel it back.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next pillar is, well, I can just give them both together. There's one is outer work and one is inner work, and they're both important for different reasons and in different ways. Outer work is like setting up a routine that works for you, getting enough sleep on your schedule, like not just waiting for that to happen by chance or going by what other people like in your family are used to or what works for them. That may not work for you. HSPs, they're called HSP, highly sensitive person, or, is one of the ways we talk about it. They typically need 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night. It's like, yeah, right?
Yeah. Can I
That's
get an
me.
amen? I'm like, no, for sure. Like if I feel like I can't function if I don't get mine. Like I mean, I just made a protein shake and did some extra creatine because I heard I was like, oh, okay, if you get less sleep, creatine may be able to help like with that brain functionality. So okay, interesting. 8 to 10 hours of sleep,
Yeah,
beautiful.
I mean, you can get away with it here and there, but like ultimately, to be at your best, you have to take care of the system. The analogy I like to use is if you think of a Stradivarius violin, which is like the best violin in the world, like it can produce an incredible music, but you have to baby it. You don't when they sell one of them, they hand deliver it on the airplane. The violin gets a seat for itself, like it's not they're not shipping that because any kind of damage to it could make a huge effect on the way that instrument performs. So we as highly sensitive people, all human beings, but especially as highly sensitive people, we're a sensitive instrument, and so we have to baby it a little bit. We have to take care of ourselves so that we can perform what we're given to perform, what we're capable of doing. So yeah, sleep, routine, taking care of getting good food, balance. We tend to like to do things well, and sometimes we can get driven or caught in a loop of like trying to get to the finish line, and and so we can be our own worst enemies in that regard. And so we have to just really learn how to pace ourselves. Like time management is super important for us. I just recently realized this cool new way of ending my day, my work day, is I used to like shut down my computer and like close out and make sure this project's done and everything's ready for tomorrow. Like I've actually just come to the point of just hitting the pause button. And then the next day pick it up, and it's like actually been way better for me because it can be infinite how many things you need to finish before closing down in the day. So
Did that
this
take
kind of
you?
thing.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
mean to interrupt you, but I'm curious. Like, did that take a level of experimentation, or like to figure out, okay, like what's gonna be fit for me, or like more nurturing and that sort of thing?
absolutely. It's constant experimentation in a way. Like you try this and then you like see how that goes and then you try that. And each of us is individual. There's no perfect way for everybody. I
Yeah.
love I love that. There are certain guidelines that you can kind of work within, and so we can learn from each other as well. But yes, experimentation is key.
Because as you were thinking, I even thought I was like, even as a woman, like in different times in my cycle, like my need or longing for rest is going to feel different than in certain other ones, or how I would nurture or baby myself, or like even like workouts that I want to do. Like
Yes.
sometimes yoga feels better, and other times I'm like I want to get after it and like really do some strength training, or not so much running anymore, but like maybe boxing or hitting something. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. In some cultures, traditionally, during menstruation, women took like real rest time, like they just really didn't even come out of the house or just really were taking care of themselves. So having that awareness that the body changes, and men as well. Like there's times when I want to work out hard, and there's times when I want to just do some yoga or some gentle stretches or just not work out. And honoring that, listening to yourself is super key. So, there are many things in terms of creating balance through outer work. Outer work is about balance. We're trying to find the sweet spot where it works. It's not too much, it's not too little, but it's just like it's nurturing enough for me to stay balanced. Inner work is a whole other area, which is amazing. And that is where you begin to loosen your attachments and maybe what your what your ego wants and what you're getting caught up in because that's what you believe and that's what you think you have to have. And so as you and the thing here is stress will show you when you're caught on some kind of belief.
Mm.
Stress is your like alarm clock saying, hey, you need to check something out and see if there's something you're super attached to here, or just believing that isn't even necessarily true, and then question the thought that is running at that time. And what happens is you can loosen that attachment. You may find that you're just much easier feeling as a result of that. And so one of the ways that I love to do inner work, this is kind of my background in training, is something called the work of Byron Katie, which is a simple 4 questions you can ask yourself anytime you get stressed, and just be like, okay, is that really true that, he doesn't like me or whatever? And then, and then just like, what are you like going through these questions? Like, how do you react when you're believing that? And who would you be if you weren't believing that? And giving yourself some space there, and then playing with opposites and seeing like, okay, well, it could be that I'm not liking myself here, or I'm not liking him, or maybe he is liking me, and finding examples of how that could be true. So this like loosens the stress. And the way I like to do that is, I always say there's like a wise part of me and there's a stuck part of me.
Mm,
And the wise part of me doesn't need that kind of work. It already read all the books, it knows all the, the perspective. But the stuck part of me, it's more emotional, and that part needs to be held, needs to be met with understanding, and it needs to be given questions like this for it to loosen its own stress. In other words, we're not pushing from above onto our emotions like, you need to change, smarten up, nothing like that. It's more like, where are you at and what's going on? I want to hear, first of all. And then, second of all, I want you to play around and see if there's anything more that you might see, that maybe we're missing. So it's very respectful of
mhm.
the inner part of us.
And do you like when you're chatting with like the emotional part of it? Because like what came up for me is like, I don't know, is it called parts work or I don't know. I'm not entirely, it might parts or internal where you're like, I'm like, okay, is this some is this like, 13-year-old me? Is this like triggering that, or is it like just something that's alive and present in the moment?
Yeah.
That sort of thing, or
It's like, it almost doesn't matter, but you will notice that, oh, that does seem very familiar. That is kind of like 13-year-old me, or that is, but you don't have to name it. It's just,
mm,
there's a part of me that is angry, or there's a part of me that is sad, or there's a part of me that is just wanting something, and it's just like desperate. Like, so I want to have that part come out of me and have a safe space to feel like, in an uncensored way, it can share what it actually thinks.
mm,
Because we're usually trying to push that stuff down. We're trying to say, "Oh no, you don't really feel that way. You don't really care. I'm cool and collected and all this." But inside, there's a part saying, I want it. I need it. So I want that part to come out, and I give the mic to that part so that it can actually have a chance, first of all, just to be heard. And then, second of all, we're like, okay, I hear you. Now, how's that working for you? Like, is there any other perspective that might open if you explore? So
mhm.
that's it.
So it's like a sounds to me like a little bit of like an acceptance and then maybe shifting to something that's more supportive potentially.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I say respectful, because we kind of know intellectually where we probably should go, or where the balance point might be, and so we may start with a motive to try to like shift ourselves or change ourselves, but that's not really the process. The process is, I want to see where you're at, and if that's stuck, I want to really be with your stuckness, and I really want to allow space for that. And then, if and when you're ready, let's step into questioning it. And then, if you find something, wonderful. And if you don't, I also respect that. So there's no push in it at all. And
Mhm,
that gives a really safe space for emotion, and emotional work. And what I find is like, the cooperation of my inner part is like really high. And then it ends up discovering amazing discoveries that actually end up lining up with the book learning and everything anyway. But
mhm,
it discovered it on its own, and that changes the experience,
mm,
and that changes the actual life. And so after doing any kind of work like this, I notice huge shifts in me and my clients where that's just not an issue anymore. And I can't go back to making it an issue because
Mm.
this part saw it instead of, oh yeah, you should,
Oh, I hate
kind of
that word.
approach.
I was about to say should is like I wanted it to be the biggest cuss word.
It is. Yeah. And we do it to ourselves the worst, you
Yes.
know?
Like I try to reframe some of the language with should sometimes. It's like, really?
I mean,
Yeah.
literally, you can take a I should statement, like I
Mhm.
should, whatever, work out more, whatever you think you want to, and like question it with this kind of process and
Yeah.
find and turn it around to I shouldn't and find the balance there.
Mhm.
And always with this, it's about balance. So it's not that I necessarily should, and it's not that I necessarily shouldn't, but that somewhere in the middle, there's a bigger truth where like I should when I do, and I shouldn't when I don't, and it's a looser hold.
And where is it coming from? For me, it's like, is it something that I'm feeling that I'm placing on myself, like the pressure, or externally coming, feeling like I've got to feel like I gotta, keep up with something in the world or earn something or, or who knows?
Exactly. We inherit a lot of our beliefs just
Yeah.
from everybody else, our parents, our family, our world, and if we're questioning some of those beliefs when they become stressful, we start to find freedom. And that's what I'm all about, inner freedom, like
Mm.
where you can have craziness around you, you can have limiting beliefs all around you, but you're just not buying into it as much.
Then it's kind of like you're in on a cool little joke or secret.
Yes.
Yeah, for me anyway. Um, do you have any like specific examples of like emotions or things, either you or with a client that you walk through, or um, like just to kind of like pinpoint it a little further, or
Yeah, it's a great question. I
we
have
could even
to.
do one like in live, in action right now. If
Sure. Yeah. You want to do a little? Let's do it.
sure,
Why
yeah.
not? Absolutely. So this works really well with specific situations. So I always like to, without trying to kind of fix myself or figure out what I need to work on, just like trust where you got triggered. Like it might be a little tiny thing that just happened this morning or yesterday or last week, or it can be bigger stuff. We can go into trauma work and all that too. But like basically, if you got triggered by something, whether it's anger, sadness, fear, whatever, then that's a moment we can use to kind of look at what you were believing there and then see if there's another perspective on it.
Yeah, maybe when there's mismatched communication styles.
Huh? Okay.
Or, and because then I feel like I look for patterns too or something, or I long for a certain text from someone and then if I don't get it, so then maybe it ruffles my feathers or something a little more. I feel like so I don't know if that's a good enough one, or I mean, like sometimes my dog is a little shithead and he'll do something that
Yep.
irritates me.
Yeah.
Even though he's my cute little shithead and I love him. Um,
Right. But it got me, like, and that's what I trust. Like, there's that little sensor inside of me that's like, boom, something got me. So there
mhm.
must be something going on.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
So I would suggest like look for a specific time. It's either when your dog got you or some mixed matched communication.
Also, like, which one do I want it to be public?
Yeah, exactly. Knowing that we're on a podcast here, right?
um, I'm like, do I go general or like I'm like, how do I? Okay. But I did like express, I was proud of myself for expressing this, but there was something that it's like where it was a last minute plan shift or change.
Hmm.
And I just would have liked a conversation beforehand or before making the decision. Cause I was like, had this vision of like a date that was going to unfold. Um, and it was just a little more intimate and, or just like the two of us basically. And what unfolded was beautiful, but it was just like that I was like, well, damn, I kind of wish like you would have told me beforehand before it was like this is going to be the thing.
Yes.
Without too
Yes.
much context, because I don't know. I'm like, I don't know if he's going to listen, and I don't know if he wants me to air that out there or not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, we can do it generally enough. We don't have to
Okay,
disclose
cool.
exactly who it is
Yeah.
and all the details, but it's a relatable kind of
Yeah.
situation. So what were the stressful thoughts running in your mind, in that moment?
I guess a question that comes up, Scott, does he not want to spend time with only me, or the prioritization of, or like that intimacy or connection? Because I guess to now death, I'm like, I like to go deep. And so I kind of, the story was like, I don't think that we're going to have that ability or capability or opportunity with other people there. And
Yeah,
yeah.
perfect. Yeah. So that's a great one that we can look at. Usually, like you framed it as a question, maybe does he not want to spend time with only me? But I
Mhm.
would just reframe it as a statement. It's like he doesn't want to spend
Okay.
time with only me. Like that's the fear or the stressful thought
Hmm.
underneath that question.
Or like, am I not good enough to just hang out by myself?
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. So these are we can brainstorm like in the beginning of just like, okay, what is the thing that feels closest to the stress itself? Is it that he doesn't want to spend time with me, or that I'm not good enough, or uh, for him to spend time with me, or is it the same thing?
Also,
Or
like, how I want someone, like I want someone to like make that plan, and like the masculine make the plan, and
yes,
let's go on this fun date and like have that connection too. So I'm like, I feel like it's a little bit of a whirlwind of things. Maybe that I wasn't considered before
yeah,
making the decision.
yeah. Okay, perfect. So you can see there's often a lot of
Yeah.
thoughts that are connected to the stressful experience, and part of the it's really like a meditation. Really, what it is sitting with what are those thoughts and giving yourself time to come out with whatever they are. But I love this one. He didn't consider. Yeah, and I didn't get it all down. I'm writing it down. So he
You're
didn't
good. I've
consider.
been making little notes on the side too, in case my little eyeballs don't, because I'm like, oh, okay, if something falls, yeah.
Yeah. So I
Okay.
think it was something like he didn't consider my point of view. Was that more or
Yeah,
less
or
what it?
consider like, yeah, before making the decision, like,
Yeah,
maybe
he didn't
call me up
consider
before it was done.
exactly. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's go through. Now, this is where I'm saying, like, let's look at this part of you that is stuck on this, right? We said you got triggered. It was like a small trigger, but still, it's like you feel the emotion. Ah, he didn't consider me before making the decision. And so stay with that part there. Yeah, you feel it? It's real. Okay, so this is the part that I'm inviting to do this work. And so I'm going to ask you some questions and then
Mhm,
um, just listen to where what your actual experience is and report from there.
mhm.
The first question is a yes or no question, so it might take a second to figure out what the answer is for you. So, is it true that he didn't consider you before making the decision?
I don't know that 100%.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah,
Yeah.
right? We just go with it. It's true. I'm sure it's true, and I'm suffering over here because of it.
No, I'm like, I can picture him pondering over there
Right?
and
Right.
trying to make the best path forward. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so just that one question already starts to open it a little bit, just that possibility. If you'd answered no, which is also fine, or sorry, if you'd answered yes, which is also fine, then there's another question: can you absolutely know it's true? Which you already kind of answered all in one. So the next question is, how do you react? What happens when this part of you or you believe or feel that he didn't consider you before making the decision? What happens?
What happened in the moment, or what or after?
Start with the moment and then after,
Well, yeah,
both.
in the
Mhm.
moment, I was a little bummed. I was like, but I still was like, okay, I'm gonna still come. I'm still gonna,
Yep.
yeah, go. I still want to hang out with you. And but then once I got there, which I don't know if I would have done this like old Kristen or past Kristen, different versions of Kristen, but I expressed to him like that my desires, like when the plan shifted, like I was really looking forward to like us getting to that extended time together, and like I'm totally cool with this. However, I had a vision or like, and he had an opportunity to explain, and I was like, oh, okay. So I did get to see where,
Yeah. And
yeah.
that's cool. Like that shows your maturity that like there's a willingness and ability to actually communicate it directly with them, which is awesome. So we're just like tidying up any little
Mhm,
bits of the emotional part there that
mhm.
like any other reactions that showed up out of, oh, he didn't consider me.
Well, whenever just like sitting here, I was like, of course, that reminds me of my fucking dad.
Hmm. Yes.
I was like, I
Yep.
was like,
You
why do
think
I
we're
feel
just
like that little girl that they just told me about their divorce again?
uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So see how it starts with just a small little thing, like someone didn't keep the plan, and but on an emotional level, deeper in, there's some reaction happening that's connecting it to that experience of your parents getting divorced, your dad, that kind of thing. So it brings a lot of gravity to that same experience on an emotional level. So reactions can include things like past images or future images. They can be like how you treat the other person or how you treat yourself. So any of those things show up for you when you think he didn't consider you.
I maybe started pulling just maybe a little. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll be a little more. We can put my hands up a little distant, or maybe not,
That's it.
we're gonna proceed a little more cautiously,
That's right. That's right.
like that kind
That's
of thing.
that's instant reaction. Like we can't even I say reaction because we can't even control it. It's like when you hit that part of your knee and just pops out, and kicks. So like when you're thinking he didn't consider me before making the decision, instantly there's this little like separating, like emotional distancing that happens. So this is reaction. And they can go on and on. Like every situation is different, and sometimes there'll be like passive aggressive things that'll happen. Sometimes it'll be, you know, ranting and raving. Sometimes it'll just be like, oh, I should ask, where do you feel it in your body or in your emotions?
Oh, like now?
Yeah, I can ask
Okay,
you right
yeah,
now. Yeah,
okay, yeah, okay.
sorry, confusing.
Um, I mean, I was just feeling like whenever I thought about my dad and stuff, I was just like, oh, and like the still in a way.
Yes, yeah.
Um, I don't know if it's as present for me as it was because we kind of like sifted through some of it, but I mean, I just initially want to say heart, or just like up here on my whatever this is, shoulder neck area. Yeah,
So it can show up in different places as
yeah.
well. So all of these are reactions. This is what I mean by how do you react when
Mhm.
you believe that thought. And what this gives the emotional part of me that's suffering here is gives it some feedback and lets it see like, oh, when you're believing that thought, these are all the repercussions. This is what happens. And you can't help it. I'm not blaming you or anything. It's
Mhm.
just this is what comes out. And then the next question is, who would you be in the same situation when this person changes the plan? Um, but if you're not holding on to this idea that he didn't consider you before making the decision, even though it may be true, like, but if you're not as gripped onto that, who would you be?
I'd probably be a little more laid back.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
Be
describe what that's
present,
like.
less in my head.
So kind of play it through, like as if you're playing pretend. Like, what would it be like to, um, from the moment you hear it
Okay,
to actually meeting him? Like, what
yeah.
would it feel like? What would it look like?
Mhm. I'd say, yeah, just more openness too, because I also think about what transpires. And if I had held on to that, like, grippingly, I wouldn't have had other beautiful connections happen that day or conversations.
Yeah.
And so, that was like, "Good job."
Yeah.
There was it's like both kind of transpired.
So the difference that you described so beautifully is with the thought, it's like this distance or kind of closing, whereas without the thought, there's this opening. And that's your internal state. It has nothing to do with the environment or the situation. It's just how you're seeing it. And when this thought comes in, then it closes your mind. It makes you want to retreat and retract. Whereas when you're not thinking that thought or not focused on it, there's this openness and curiosity and interest. So, I grew up I was in high school in the 80s, and they used to have this like ad. It was like, this is your brain, there's like an egg, and then this is your brain on drugs, and it like it's fried. And so like, this is your brain, this is you under the influence of a thought, like, he didn't consider me. And it affects you. It's like a drug. It actually affects you.
Mm,
So this little compare contrast helps the emotional part get it that, oh, okay, when I'm believing that thought, it's kind of sucks and painful and stuck and
mhm,
stressed. If I'm not, and I'm not saying I should, but if I'm not believing it, then I'm more open and I would be more, engaged in the situation, more
mhm.
easygoing.
That's beautiful.
So then the last part is, okay, so considering that this thought has such an effect on me, then is it possible that some of the opposites of this thought could be as true or truer than the original? So
Yeah, I
the
need a more
original,
example. Yeah.
yeah,